Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and this is Faithful Rattos. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, this is another cage reacting video. This was very popular on my channel and I really enjoyed making it, and I've had a sneak peek on the cages from this time and they are great as well, which I'm really excited about. If I do get a bit distracted, it's because there's in fact a little blackbird on my balcony which is just opposite you. So yeah, all my boys are waiting here because they think I'm gonna let them out or something, but we'll just get on with the video. The current cage is for 4 bucks that are around 9 months old. This is a double critination. One of them needs help climbing because of a tail injury. She uses aspen shavings and the tray is 7 inches deep, which is quite good. That's quite good, that's really good. Shredded paper, cardboard, leaf litter and hay for bedding options, that's really great. And there's 2 litter trays. So, and she says that she goes for a naturalistic setup. Her Instagram is Little Rat Crossing, and she has one of like my favorite cage setups that I follow on my Instagram. So as you can see, it's wonderful. The substrate on the bottom, there is an extra dig box, or maybe that's a litter tray, I don't know. There's a couple of hammocks. There's lots of things to climb around on. There's a hanging basket with hay in it, which looks really great. And again, there's just a lot of different texture in the bottom, which is really great because sometimes people will forget that the variety is the spice of a rat's life. And sorry for the bottle drinking, what else can I do? But again, this is such a great cage. From my knowledge, she has upgraded since this. She now does have a perspex tray and it's very deep, and she also has a wheel now, which is really cool. The thing with wheels for rats is they're not 100% necessary. However, if you want to use one and your rats like to use one, you need to make sure that it's an appropriate size, which is quite large, and they do take up quite large amounts of space in a cage. And if you've got a cage on the smaller end, sometimes it's not preferable if your rats don't really enjoy the wheels. So the wheels for rats minimum is 12 inches. If it's anything less than 12 inches, it's not going to be good. And most bucks, it's good, there need to be at least 14 or even 16 inches for bucks. I'm currently waiting on a 6-inch wheel that I bought secondhand. I will obviously show you on my channel. But yeah, with wheels you need to make sure that they're big enough, and I think it's not a necessary thing for rats. So if you think that they won't use it, maybe get a wheel and have it out on free roam, because the wheel does take up a lot of space. An appropriate size wheel takes up a lot of space, and if you take that space up with a wheel and they're not 100% into it, you know, pros and cons, like is there something that you can put in there that they would enjoy more, perhaps. But back to this cage. I know for a fact that I've seen her cage have a perspex tray, which yeah, as I said, I just think this setup is really great, and there's a lot of fall breakers, and there's a water bottle and a water bowl, and I don't see any food bowls, which means that you scatter feed, which is wonderful. I think the only thing that I don't really see in this picture, I could be wrong, I don't see any foraging toys, but that doesn't mean that none are in use. That's just the only thing that I would add to this setup. So this next cage is for 2 boys who've recently turned 2, and they're trying their hand at scatter feeding, and that's why there isn't a food bowl. The water bottle is slightly out of view. It's a 1-story critination, and it's got lots of lava ledges and baskets and things. Okay, so let's look at these photos. So what I'll say is, it sets up very well. There's a couple of hammocks, a couple of places to sleep. As I mentioned in the previous video, you don't want to overdo it on the hammocks, because the hammocks aren't the be all and end all of a rat's cage, even though some people think they are. Hammocks are for sleeping, and we don't have in our whole entire house a whole house of beds. That's just not engaging and enriching. And it's the same for the rats. You don't need super amounts of hammocks. But this is a decent amount of hammocks. I mean, I would personally, you've got 2 boys, I don't think you would, and I think you could get rid of 1 of the hammocks and maybe even 2 of the hammocks and put instead some things to climb on, because if there's only 2 of them, they don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 choices of where to sleep. I think you could, you know, do something differently. But it's not bad, it's not bad. They've got a litter tray. The other thing that I would suggest is making a deeper tray out of Perspex or chloroplast, just so you could add in extra bedding so that they can dig better and maybe even burrow. As you can see, I have around 20 centimeters of bedding, and my boys can dig very happily in it, and they can also make burrows in it. I am planning to, in the future, make it deeper so there's even more space to burrow in, but even something that is about 10 centimeters high would be really beneficial to them. I would say though that you've got toys and foraging toys, and yeah, it's not a bad setup by any means. I just think there's a little bit of room for improvement, and that's okay. The cage that I started out with was absolutely terrible, and I'll be completely honest, I don't think I'll ever share a picture of it because I don't want people thinking that that's an okay setup, but this is really, really nice. I just don't think, you know, that they need so many. So, one of my favourite Instagram accounts, Oh the Mischief, she's absolutely wonderful and such a lovely person as well. This is her setup. She has 6 does, 2 who are almost 2 years, 2 who are 1.5 and 3, 1 who's 1.5 and 3 who's about 10 months. The wheel is 14 inches and there's 10 inches of semi-bioactive soil, and obviously it's critination because she's in the US. So as you can see from this picture, this cage is wonderful. So they have the top one of the shelves in there, which is used as a litter tray, and there's a couple of hammocks. There's one at the top, a little bed. I know she makes them and she sells them on her store, which I'm really jealous of because she doesn't ship to the UK. And then there's a perch hammock on the left hand side near the middle, but everything else now is things to climb on and fall breakers, which is what a rat's cage should be like. And it's very full. I can't see anywhere where a rat would even have the slightest fall. And obviously she has a 14-inch wheel, which is the perfect size for does and the most appropriate size for does. Then there's, as I mentioned, semi-bioactive soil, which is absolutely wonderful, and one of the best things you can give your rats is a loose bedding that they can dig in. I didn't always use a loose bedding, and the first day that I switched to a loose bedding, it wasn't a huge amount, it wasn't like this much bedding, but when the first day that I switched to it, my boys completely changed. They were so much happier and they were so much more rat-like just in the space of the couple of minutes when I put them into the cage with this loose bedding in. And for people who don't choose to use it, I would ask you, why not? There's really no reason not to, and one of the only reasons I can think of is a hairless rat who keeps getting dust and things in their eye. And then my question is, if a hairless rat is not able to enjoy a loose bedding without being impacted on the health, I think that's a question that we should be talking about. And is that something that, do we want that to go forward? Do we want rats who have such impacted health and bodies that they can't enjoy the ratty things? I think that's, you know, a question that we should be having. And then I'm just looking at some more close-ups, so you can see that there's the IKEA tie holders, there's what looks to be a crocheted fall breaker, which is really cool, some rope and some branches, and this is the cage with its closed, and you can see there's a foraging wheel, which is great. And I know that she makes her homemade foraging toys, which is really cool. And there's also at the top, I just noticed, a roll of toilet paper, which I recently just used in my cage, and it looked like the boys TP'd their own house. It was quite funny, but it's very enriching and it's a form of bedding for them. And when they, like, you know, can get it themselves, it's really great for them. And I can definitely tell that this picture was taken right when she put that toilet roll in, because as soon as I put my boys back in the cage with the toilet paper, it was everywhere. But yeah, I just think her cage setups are always amazing, and I'll always share them when I can because I just love them. Okay, so the next setups are from Sarah, who is from A Rat's Tail, who I love, is one of my favourite shops to get rat items from. She's currently just launched a whole load of like merch things, so like rat owner related t-shirts and bags and pillows and mugs and like just everything you could ever want. They're all just like waiting here, falling asleep, so that I will let them out, which isn't going to happen because it's not free room time yet. So Sarah has sent, this is a single critination with an extended base, and there's 6 books in here, which is a perfect size. And as you can see on the door, there is a basket with a litter in, which is wonderful. They have a 16-inch wheel, and they have a huge amount of bedding, which looks to be some sort of wood shaving with some hay as nesting material, which is wonderful. There's 1 hammock, which is completely plenty for a group, especially when it's a double hammock because there's a top and a bottom. And there's what looks to be in the back another basket that's probably got nesting material in it. There's some foraging toys and some fall breakers and some things to chew on and a branch. And this is a very simple setup. There's not crazy amounts of things going on, but it's very, very good. Now, I know that her rats were previously on a soil substrate, which they didn't like for some reason, which is interesting to me, that some rats just don't prefer it, and that's okay, as long as you're trying out different loose substrates, which clearly is going on here. And it looks there's to be a little forage feeder on the side, just a great cage. And it's just proof that even with the smaller cages, you can set up a very, very good rat cage in a smaller space, and it doesn't have to be one of these massive double cages that we see. If you have a small group of rats, they will really benefit, even in a small cage, from a nice active layout with lots of things to do. Now, this is 5 does and a neutered buck in this cage, and this is the Pet Planet rat and ferret cage with an extended base, and this one does have bioactive in it. There's bioactive soil and mounds of hay, which is really great. There's lots of fall breakers and branches, and I think that's a speedy hog wheel, and I'm not 100% sure on the size, but I think they are from 14 to 16 inches, which is great. There's a couple of hammocks in here, nothing crazy, no crazy amounts of hammocks. There's a few baskets with bedding in. Yeah, this is just a great, very active layout. There's not many places. There's not loads of hammocks cluttering everything up. This is what a rat cage should look like, and I'm just really impressed. And I just really enjoy seeing cages like this on my feed all the time and sharing them with you, because I think sometimes we get bogged down with what other people's cages look like and trying to make it exactly the same, when it doesn't need to be like that, and it doesn't need even to be with expensive materials or rat specific things. You can make an engaging cage for your rats out of cheap supplies, out of things that weren't meant to be rat things in the first place. And I think there's a lot of cages that show that, and I think just seeing everyone else's different setup that are still amazing and suitable is really great inspiration if you're having a bit of a cage slump. Okay, so this is a single little Zuventura, which was my ideal cage until there became a lot of issues stock-wise, and also the only company who sells them currently also was just doing some very weird things, so I didn't really want to, do that. So this cage has 5 does, 1 elderly doe, 2 adults who are sisters, and 2 9-week-old sisters, which is really cute. So as you can see from these cages, there is a lot of things in here that are sort of repurposed things. So like this hanging basket that looks like it has some fabric in to nest in. There's a hammock and some fall breakers and some bridges, and the IKEA wine rack, which is a really great climbing frame. There's a litter tray, and yeah, it's just a really good setup, and again showing that a cage, one of the smaller cages as it were, can still be really enriching and still be really appropriate for rats. These pictures are really cute because most people, when they send cage pictures, they'll be sending cage pictures without the rats in, but these, you can see the rats are like first exploring this cage, so it's really cute. I think the only thing that I would say for this cage, oh, there's a little ratty down there, that's very cute. The only thing that I would say is possibly just a deeper layer of bedding. It looks to be like you're using something like aspen or hemp, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, that's the only thing I'd probably say for this cage is just an extra couple of inches of bedding if possible, and maybe something on the left hand side, maybe another full breaker there, or another maybe double hammock. Since you have got 6 does in there, a second hammock wouldn't be a bad thing. But again, as you can see, cages don't have to look exactly the same for them to be a good cage, and this one is a really great cage. So this is a cage for 3 rats, 8-month-old girls, that are called Clover, Breville and Blossom. This cage is a Yahi Tech parrot cage, and it's an appropriate size. She also has extended the cage by adding 16-inch perspex base, and she has about 10 to 12 inches of bedding, which is wonderful. And she's planning to get more items for when she intros to 3 babies in the next month or so. Her Instagram is Lovable Rats. So the extended base is wonderful. That's one of the main things that I would suggest for a rat cage, and she has that. There's a couple of hammocks and some branches and things. One thing I would suggest taking out is any plastic shelves. Like, you can fill that with better things, and like, they're not wholly necessary. This is, I think there's 2 hammocks in here, and everything else seems to be, you know, branches and ropes and things, which is excellent. And this is also showing that you don't have to go out and buy one of these specific rat cages. You can choose another different cage and it still be appropriate. So there's just some close-ups of the cage, and there is a litter tray, which is great. And from what I can see in this picture, there's actually a tunnel poking out of the substrate, which is really great because this will give them a head start on making a burrow if they want to. Yeah, this is just a great cage. I would just take out that plastic shelf though. I don't think you need it. You know, you could put a cargo net or a rope or a branch there and they'd be perfectly fine. Great cage. Okay, so the next cage doesn't have any information on it, like none whatsoever, but I think this might be the Pet Planet rat and ferret cage. That's just a guess though. But as you can see, this cage is full of 4 breakers and ropes. There's what looks to be a 14 or 16 inch wheel, which is great. It looks to be a tic-tac wheel. There's this little basket on the side, which is clearly used for plants, which is really great. There's a couple of hammocks there in the right corner, and there's a hanging pod, which is, they're so cute. I actually got scammed on Facebook for one. I paid for it and the woman never sent it to me. There's branches. This is just a really great cage, and without more information, there's not really much else I can say, but the only thing I would say is maybe add some more foraging toys. That's pretty much it. This is a good cage too, and I wish I knew how many rats lived in there or what, but that's okay. Okay, so this cage was sent in by Hannah from Oh You Pretty Rats, which is another one of my favourite Instagram pages. In here, this cage is an SRS XL, which is massive. She has a 40cm deep plastic tray, which is really deep. She's using Finicard. She removed the middle shelf for a more active layout, and there is 5 girls in here between 6 and 14 months. Their names are Trouble, Bam Bam, Poppy, Luna and Dusty, which is a really cute set of names. They have 2 water bottles and a bowl, which is something that I really preach, and they scatter feed, so there's no sort of like feeding bowls. And also they have a 16-inch tic-tac wheel. Just by looking at it, it looks great. Now looking on the inside, there's a really lovely colour tic-tac wheel. There's a couple of Spudniks and a couple of hammocks, and that's pretty much all you need for like sleeping places. And rats do prefer higher up sleeping places, so if you can give them a hammock at the top rather than the bottom, that's also better. Just like this cage, there's plenty of ropes and things to climb on and fall breakers and branches, which is one of my favourite things. And you can see in this picture there's a little ratty. Boys, what are you doing? In this picture you can see there's a little ratty actually at the foraging wheel, which is very cute. There's a perch style hammock. There's a little black ratty at the bottom, which reminds me of my cade. It's just cute. And there's lots of lava ledges. There's a deep layer of bedding. I think you can afford to have a deeper layer of bedding if that's possible, because you have such a high perspex tray that you could afford to have that bedding come up 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the way up, and that'll just give them more room to dig around. But at the moment that's great. I personally think even the smallest sliver of loose bedding is better, again, than fleece or towel or blankets or whatever that some people use. Again, there's not really much I can say about this cage because it's great. There's not really anything that I can say to improve it. There's foraging toys, there's lots of places to climb on, there's not too many hammocks. It's a massive cage. The SRS XL is huge. You could fit probably up to 15 rats or something like that in an SRS XL. Look how small the Spudniks look in comparison to the cage. Oh, I didn't even know you sent pictures of the rats. This is just cute. Aren't you cute, girl? So this cage is from Amber. Her account is Adventures of Acorn, and this is really great. So this is an SRS 95 with a base extension. It's 6 books who live in here: Moss and Booker, who are 22 months old, Arnold, Winster and Norbert, who are roughly 18/19 months old, and Humbug, who is 10 months old. Fun fact, Moss and Booker are brothers from the same litter that Whisper and Twix are from, which is Emiology's rat, which is really cute. And Humbug is from Oozle Stud, which is really cute. He was homed with another rat, but that rat passed away young. I hate when they pass away young. It's worse than when they pass away when they're old. So this cage is great. There is an extended base with lots and lots of Finicard in there. It looks like the one that I use. There's a dig box with soil, there's a litter tray, there's a couple of hammocks, there's a bunch of ropes and branches, really thick ropes, which look really great. I wonder where you got those ropes from. Some foraging toys, water bowls. Again, it's just a really great cage. They have what looks to be a 16-inch tic-tac wheel as well. It's just a really great cage all around, and I can't say anything about it. There's nothing to improve. It's just really great. Well done. You must have some very happy ratties. So, I can't tell how long this video is right now because I am filming on the back camera of my phone, but all those entries were absolutely amazing. There was nothing major to say about any of those cages. There's nothing even partially harmful in any of those cages. Those cages were all examples of how cages can look different and be enriching for rats. There was a lot of naturalistic theme cages in this video, but you don't have to have a naturalistic theme for it to be enriching. You can have bright colours if that's what makes you happy, as long as there's places for rats to burrow and dig, to forage, to sleep with one another and to climb around. You are doing great. So I'm gonna leave this video here. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like your cage to be in one of these videos, do send it to ashleyfaith.x.x at gmail.com. That way I can collate them and maybe make another one of these videos in the future if you want to be a part of one. If you have anything to say about any of the cages, please do comment that down below and give me a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to stick around. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!